The fluorescent lights of the Cedars Sinai labor and delivery wing flickered as if they, too, sensed something was terribly wrong. Rowan Hale clutched the icy rail of the hospital bed, sweat collecting along her hairline, her breath sharp and uneven as another contraction tore through her. Her pulse raced. The beeping monitor beside her felt like a countdown to something she couldn't name. She wasn't supposed to be alone on the biggest night of her life. She wasn't supposed to feel this scared. But life rarely cared about supposed to. A nurse rushed past, pushing open the swinging door as Rowan struggled to sit upright. Pain shot down her spine. Her vision blurred. The smell of antiseptic mixed with the faint hint of someone's cologne drifting in from the hallway, clean, crisp, expensive. For one foolish second she thought it might be him. The only man she had ever felt safe with. The only man whose touch had quieted the storm inside her. But Damien Lockridge didn't know she was here. Damien Lockridge didn't even know she was pregnant. She blinked hard, steadying herself. A contraction rolled again, hard enough to make her gasp. "Breathe, Rowan. Keep breathing," the nurse instructed gently. But before she could answer, before she could even inhale, the door cracked open. Heavy boots stepped across the tile. Her heart stopped. Carter Briggs, her ex-husband. His silhouette appeared first, smug and rehearsed, like he'd been practicing the moment he'd burst back into her life. He wore a dark blazer she recognized, a bargain attempt at looking wealthy. His eyes swept the room, then landed on her belly, round and tight under the hospital gown. A twisted grin curled along his lips. "Well," he said, voice low, possessive. "Looks like I made it just in time." Rowan's stomach dropped. No, not now. Anyone but him. Not tonight. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered, clutching the blanket as another contraction gripped her hips. "You need to leave." Carter ignored that, stepping closer, pulling something from his pocket, a folded paper, a custody claim, already prepared, already signed by him. "I'm the father, Rowan. Whether you like it or not." Her breath caught. "You're not," but she never finished the sentence, because at that exact moment, another wave of pain seized her body, fiercer than any before. The fetal monitor spiked frantically. The nurse lunged toward her, calling for a doctor. Rowan tried to stay conscious, blinking through the dizziness. Carter's voice became a muffled echo. Everything blurred: white walls, bright lights, the cold metal of the IV stand. And then, a shadow fell across the doorway. The same crisp cologne drifted through the air. Rowan's eyes widened in disbelief as the figure stepped inside, his expression sharp, breathless, and filled with shock. Damien Lockridge, the billionaire father of her unborn twins. And he had heard everything. What he says next will change all three of their lives forever. Rowan Hale had spent most of her 28 years learning how to survive storms long before she ever walked into Cedars Sinai that night. Even before the twins, before Damien Lockridge, before the night that changed everything. She had been a girl who grew up holding her breath. Her childhood in a tiny two-bedroom rental in Bakersfield was a blur of foster homes, caseworkers with tired eyes, and social workers who scribbled notes about resilience, while never staying long enough to see her cry herself to sleep. Her mother had died when Rowan was 7. Her father vanished a year later. She learned early that the world didn't hand out safety. You had to build it with your own hands. By 22, she had fought her way into nursing school, working nights as a barista at Starbucks, memorizing anatomy charts tucked behind the espresso machine. When she graduated and landed a position in the ER at Cedars Sinai, she thought she had finally escaped chaos. She thought she had found her way into a life that wouldn't crumble beneath her feet. And then she met Carter Briggs. He hadn't seemed dangerous then. Carter was charming in that polished, confident way men get when they're used to being the most attractive person in the room. He drove a silver Toyota Camry, but talked like he was one deal away from a Beverly Hills penthouse. He showered her with attention she wasn't used to: text messages, surprise lunches, late-night drives along the Pacific Coast Highway. For a girl who'd spent most of her life unseen, his intensity felt like love. But it wasn't love. Not really. It began with little things. "I don't like when you work night shifts. Guys might flirt with you." Then, "Why do you need male coworkers' numbers?" Then, "You're lucky I'm patient." Most men wouldn't tolerate this. By their second year together, the charm had eroded into control. He tracked her location. He read her emails. He decided what she wore, who she saw, when she slept. The night he smashed her phone because she didn't answer quickly enough, Rowan realized she had married a cage disguised as a husband. Leaving wasn't heroic. It was terrifying. She packed one duffel bag and slipped out while he slept, her hands shaking as she clutched the steering wheel of her old Honda Civic. She drove until her tears made it impossible to see, pulling over on the shoulder of the 405. But starting over was harder than she expected. Carter had sabotaged her financially long before she knew it. He'd opened credit cards in her name. He'd drained her savings. He'd left her with debts she couldn't pay. Rowan rebuilt anyway. She worked extra shifts, slept on a friend's couch, saved every dollar. And when she finally got her own studio in West LA, with peeling paint and a window overlooking an alleyway, she felt freer than she had in years. She promised herself she'd never fall for anyone again. Then Damien Lockridge appeared literally on a gurney, bleeding from a motorcycle accident near Sunset Boulevard. And Rowan had been his admitting nurse. He was nothing like Carter. He listened. He watched her with a quiet sincerity that disarmed her. He remembered details she didn't expect him to. When he returned weeks later to thank her personally, wearing a simple black sweater and jeans instead of the designer suits the tabloids showed him in, Rowan's chest tightened in a way that frightened her. His world was everything. Hers wasn't private jets, boardrooms, Park Avenue penthouses. She told herself to stay away. But one night, she didn't. Rowan swallowed hard at the memory. Lying in that hospital bed, contractions slicing through her. Everything she was, everything she'd escaped, and everything she'd ruined, had led her to this moment. And now Carter and Damien had walked into the same room. Her past and her future now stood face to face. And one of them was about to say something that would destroy the fragile life she'd tried to build. For a long, breathless second, the room felt suspended in time, like the walls, the lights, even the machines had stopped just to witness what came next. Rowan blinked through the haze of pain, but Damien Lockridge remained exactly where he stood in the doorway, filling the space with a presence that made Carter visibly stiffen. Damien wasn't wearing one of his tailored suits tonight. Instead, he wore a dark charcoal sweater, sleeves pushed to his elbows, and simple slate jeans, an outfit that should have made him blend into the hallway but somehow made him stand out even more. His hair was slightly tousled, as if he'd been running. His chest heaved. His dark eyes, usually calm and calculating, widened the moment they landed on Rowan. "Rowan?" His voice cracked, sharp with concern. She opened her mouth, but a contraction crushed her words. She clutched the side rail, her knuckles white, a low groan tearing from her throat. The nurse stepped in front of Damien, motioning him inside. "We need space, sir. She's in active labor." Damien didn't move at first. His gaze shifted from Rowan to Carter, and the air changed. Carter puffed his chest, standing like he owned the room. "You're interrupting a family moment," he said, sliding the custody papers halfway out of his pocket like they were some kind of trophy. "I'm her husband. And the father." The father. The way he said it so casually, so deliberately made Rowan's stomach twist harder than the contractions. Damien blinked once, slowly. He looked down at Carter's outstretched paper, then back at Rowan with a confusion that sharpened into something colder, heavier. "You're her husband?" Damien asked, voice dangerously calm. "Ex-husband," Rowan whispered hoarsely, teeth clenched from the pain. "He shouldn't be here," Carter scoffed, stepping closer to Damien like a challenger stepping into a ring. "She still legally belongs with me, and those babies don't." Rowan forced the word out through a wave of agony. "Don't say it." But Carter wasn't finished. He lifted his chin, savoring each syllable. "Are mine." The nurse's head snapped toward him, reading the fetal monitor that had begun flashing yellow. Rowan's heart rate spiked. One of the twins' heart tones dipped. Damien saw it too. He stepped forward so quickly Carter had to lean back to avoid being bumped. Damien's voice dropped an octave, low and thunderous. "That's not your place to say." Carter tilted his head, smirking. "You know her. Why are you even here?" Damien didn't answer right away. His jaw locked. His eyes flickered to Rowan, who was gripping the sheets like she was trying to hold herself to the earth. "I got a call," Damien said finally, his voice thick. "From this hospital, something about an emergency contact." Rowan froze. She hadn't updated her forms since the night she treated Damien. The night she hadn't been thinking clearly. The night she'd typed his number into the emergency contact line because she didn't have anyone else. Carter's smirk faded. "What?" he snapped. But Damien wasn't looking at him anymore. He was staring at Rowan like the world had just tilted off its axis. "You never told me you were pregnant." The words hung in the room, heavy and electric, cutting straight through the fluorescent glare and the sharp scent of antiseptic. Rowan felt like she was collapsing inward, her throat tightening not because of the pain, but because of the truth she had been running from for months. I didn't know how to," she whispered. Damien took another step toward her bedside. Carter blocked him. "Nah, man. Take a hint. You're not part of this. I'm the one who's been here. I'm the one who's stepping up." But Damien didn't flinch. His voice turned quiet. Too quiet. "Stepping up?" he repeated. "Then why is she terrified of you?" Carter's smile vanished completely. And in that moment, as the fetal monitor shrieked a sudden alarming note, Rowan felt her vision blur again, this time not from pain, but from fear that all of this was spiraling beyond control. Because Damien Lockridge was about to say something that would rip Carter's lie wide open. The tension in the room thickened until even the air felt unbreathable. The beeping machines echoed Rowan's spiraling heartbeat, the rhythm jagged and uneven. The nurse hovered near the monitor, lips pressed tight, eyes darting between the dips in the twins' heart tones, and the two men standing toe-to-toe like they were seconds from tearing the hospital apart. Damien didn't raise his voice, but he didn't need to. His tone carried the weight of boardrooms, settlements, acquisitions, the quiet authority of a man used to being obeyed. He took one measured step closer. "Move," Damien said to Carter. But Carter held his ground. "She's my wife. Ex-wife." Rowan gasped, gripping the bedrail as another contraction tore through her. The pain felt like a blade pressed deep inside her pelvis. Her vision wavered. "He's not allowed here." Carter shot her a wounded look, fake, calculated. "Baby, you're confused. This is why you need me. You always fall apart without me." Rowan flinched, and Damien noticed. He shifted, placing himself just enough in front of her bed that Carter could no longer reach her without going through him. "She didn't call you," Damien said. "The hospital didn't call you either. So why are you here?" Carter hesitated, and Damien caught it. "I got a message," Carter muttered. "A tip that she was in labor." "A message from who?" Damien pressed. Rowan blinked through the fog, and a slow, sick realization curled in her stomach. Only a few people knew she was due early. Only a few people had something to gain from inserting Carter into this moment. Savannah, Damien's rumored fiancée. The woman Rowan had assumed he chose over her. Rowan's breath hitched. "She found me," she whispered. Carter frowned. "Who?" But before she could speak, pain surged again, rolling through her in a wave that nearly knocked her unconscious. The nurse called out over her shoulder, "We need to get her examined now." Damien rounded the bed in seconds, one hand bracing the rail so she wouldn't slide sideways. "Rowan, look at me," he said, voice steady, grounding. "Breathe with me. In and out. They're going to help you." She tried, but tears blurred her vision. "Damien, he can't be here." "I know." His jaw tightened as his eyes slid toward Carter. "He won't be." Carter scoffed loudly. "Oh, cut the hero act. You don't know the first thing about this woman. She's emotional. She makes things up. She lied to me for years, and she's lying to you now." It was a direct hit, and Rowan felt her throat constrict, remembering all the times he'd convinced her the same thing. But Damien didn't budge. "She doesn't lie," he said quietly. Carter laughed. "You sure about that? She didn't lie about who fathered her kids?" The room froze. Even the machines seemed to hold their breath. Damien looked down at Rowan, searching her eyes, not accusing, not angry, just trying to understand. The softness in his gaze made her chest ache. "I never said they weren't yours," Rowan whispered, trembling. "I just didn't know how to tell you." Carter tilted his head smugly. "You hear that? She doesn't know, because she was with—" "Shut up," Rowan gasped, clutching her belly as a wave of pressure hit so hard it stole her breath. Damien stiffened. "Nurse!" "She's dilating fast," the nurse said. "We need to move her to a delivery room. Now." As they unlocked the bed to roll it forward, Carter lunged to grab the side rail. I'm not going anywhere. Those kids are mine until a court tells me otherwise. The nurse tried to push him back. Damien grabbed his wrist midair iron tight, deliberate, and spoke low enough that only Carter heard. If you touch her again, I will end this right now. Carter's eyes widened, and before he could spit back a reply, a voice echoed sharply from the hallway. Step away from her, Mr. Briggs, or you'll be arrested on the spot. A female voice, firm, cold. Elisa Lockridge, Damien's sister, and she was holding a manila folder that would wipe the smirk off Carter's face forever. Elise Lockridge stepped fully into the room, heels striking the tile floor with the authority of someone who never entered a space without owning it. Her tailored navy suit contrasted sharply with the sterile white lighting of the labor wing, and her dark hair was slicked into a low chignon that gave her an even sharper edge. Rowan blinked rapidly, trying to focus through the pain and dizziness. She had only met Elise once briefly, awkwardly at a charity fundraiser months ago. At the time, she didn't know Elise was Damien's sister. She didn't know anything about the Lockridge family. All she remembered was Elise's quiet observation, those lawyerly eyes that saw everything without revealing anything. Now, Elise's gaze landed on Carter Briggs like a blade finding its target. You were warned, Elise said, her voice low but carrying. You were explicitly told to stay away from Miss Hale until legal proceedings were complete. Carter's smirk wavered. Just slightly. What the hell are you doing here? Damien moved beside his sister, not touching her but standing close enough that their bond was unmistakable. Elise extended the manila folder as if it were a weapon. Delivering this, she said coolly. Carter forced a laugh. What is that? Another one of your family's threats? You people think money solves everything. This isn't money, Mr. Briggs, Elise replied, tapping the folder. This is evidence. A chill rippled through the room. Rowan felt her pulse stutter, even as another contraction crashed down on her. The nurse spoke quickly. We need to move her. She's progressing too fast. Give me 1 minute, Damien said without lifting his eyes from Carter. His voice was steady, but the tendons in his neck were drawn tight. Then you'll move her. The nurse hesitated. She wasn't used to people giving orders in her unit. But she must have sensed that this wasn't a conversation, not tonight. Elise flipped open the folder. Let's begin with the forged credit applications, she said. All in Rowan Hale's name. Handwriting analysis confirms they match yours. Rowan felt her stomach drop, but not from the babies. From recognition, the letters, the collection notices, the mysterious debt that had gutted her credit score and cost her an apartment. She had blamed herself for months, thinking she'd mismanaged something, missed something. But Carter had done it. Carter's face paled. That's circumstantial. You. Elise didn't blink. Then there's the lease termination on her West LA studio apartment. Signed by you under her name. The landlord provided the security footage. Damien's voice hardened. You made her homeless. Rowan's breath hitched. It all made sense now. The sudden eviction notice. The landlord refusing to explain. Her belongings packed into a hallway without warning. She thought she'd simply fallen behind on a payment she didn't remember missing. It had been him the whole time. Carter tried to regain ground. You can't prove intent. Oh, we can, Elise said smoothly. She pulled the final document from the folder, a USB drive sealed in an evidence bag. This is a recording you might remember. Carter's expression flickered. Damien stepped forward, his jaw locked. What recording? Elise held the bag at eye level. Security footage from the parking garage behind Rowan's workplace. 4 months ago. Shows Mr. Briggs confronting Miss Hale and threatening to take everything she has if she didn't return to him. The room seemed to exhale. Carter lunged for the bag. Give me that. Damien blocked him instantly, grabbing his forearm with a practiced force that made Carter gasp. Don't touch her. Don't touch anything that belongs to her, Damien said. Not again. Elise stepped even closer, her eyes brutal now. Your emergency hearing is scheduled for tomorrow morning, Mr. Briggs. With this evidence, the judge won't just deny custody, you'll be lucky to avoid charges. Rowan's breathing hitched in panic, not because she feared for Carter, but because the room began spinning again. Damien, she gasped, hand clutching his. I can't. The fetal monitor blared. The nurse shouted, We're losing pressure. We need to get her to delivery now. Damien turned instantly, gripping Rowan's shaking hand. But as they rushed to wheel the bed forward, Elise stiffened, staring down at her phone, as a message flashed across the screen. Her face drained of color. She looked up at Damien, voice trembling for the first time all night. "It's Savannah. She's here. And she's headed straight for Rowan." The wheels of Rowan's hospital bed screeched softly against the polished floor as the nurse and a tech rushed her toward the delivery suite. The bright hallway lights streaked across her vision in dizzying flashes. Her breaths came in shallow, ragged bursts. Every contraction felt like a steel fist gripping her spine and twisting hard. Damien ran beside her, keeping pace with the bed, his hand locked around hers. Elise followed close behind, her heels clicking sharply with every step. Rowan felt as if the entire world had narrowed to the sound of her own pulse thundering inside her skull. "Rowan, stay with me," Damien said, his voice low and steady. "Just breathe. We're almost there." She tried, but a wave of pain crashed through her abdomen, forcing her to curl on her side. "It's too soon," Rowan managed. "The twins, Damien, they're too early." "They'll be okay," Damien said, squeezing her hand harder. "They're fighters, just like you." Before she could answer, a sharp echo cut through the hallway. Heels. Fast, purposeful, angry. Every head turned. Savannah Reed appeared at the end of the corridor, dressed in an ivory coat that skimmed the polished floor, her sleek ponytail swinging like a warning. Her makeup was flawless, untouched by the harsh fluorescent lighting, a walking contrast to Rowan's sweat-soaked gown and trembling limbs. But her expression, it wasn't flawless. It was lethal. "Damien," Savannah called, a smooth, practiced voice that carried far too easily in the sterile hallway. "I need to speak with you." Damien didn't even look at her. "Not now." Savannah's jaw tightened. She stalked forward, each step snapping like a threat. "You don't get to ignore me. Not tonight." Elise stepped directly into Savannah's path, blocking her. "This is a restricted area." Savannah laughed, cold and amused. "Please, do you think I care?" She tried to push past, but Elise didn't budge. "Turn around, Savannah. You're not part of this." "Oh, but I am," Savannah hissed. "I'm the only one thinking clearly." "Damien, you're being manipulated. Can't you see it?" Damien finally stopped running beside the gurney, his shoulders stiff. He turned slowly toward Savannah, eyes dark as obsidian. "Savannah," he said quietly. "Walk away." Savannah lifted a manicured hand, pointing directly at Rowan on the gurney, as if she were some intruder. "She is lying to you." Rowan felt her stomach twist, not from pain this time, but from fear that Savannah knew something she wasn't supposed to. Carter, who had been following behind Elise, seized the moment. "She's right. Damien, I've known Rowan a hell of a lot longer than you. She lies, she manipulates, she—" "Stop talking," Damien snapped. But Savannah wasn't done. "She didn't tell you she was pregnant," Savannah continued, stepping closer. "She didn't tell you the babies might be someone else's. She didn't tell you she's in debt, or that she's been hiding things from your family." Elise's eyes narrowed. "How do you know she's in debt?" Savannah froze. Damien turned his full attention toward her, expression sharp and calculating. "Savannah," he said slowly, "what did you do?" Savannah swallowed hard. "I protected you." Elise's voice sharpened. "By sending Rowan's ex-husband here, by telling him she was in labor." Savannah didn't answer. That was all the confirmation they needed. Damien's stare was ice. "Get out." "I was trying to help you," Savannah yelled, her mask cracking. "You don't know who she really is." A sudden scream tore from Rowan's throat as another contraction ripped through her, this one so strong her vision exploded into stars. The nurse checked quickly. "She's fully dilated. These babies are coming now." Savannah stepped forward again. "Damien, listen to me." But Damien spun, putting himself between Rowan and Savannah like a shield. "If you come one step closer, you'll need security to walk again." Savannah's lips parted in shock. And then, a deep alarm blared across the hall. The fetal heart monitor. One of the twins' rhythms dropped sharply. The nurse shouted, "We're losing baby B." Everything erupted at once. Doctors running, orders shouted, lights blinding. And Rowan, gripping Damien's arm, whispered the words that turned his face white. "Something's wrong. I can't feel him." The delivery suite burst into motion the moment the alarm shrieked. Doctors swarmed around Rowan's bed, their movements sharp and urgent. The fluorescent lights seemed harsher now, slicing the room into fragments of white and shadow. Rowan's fingers clamped around Damien's wrist like a lifeline, her nails digging in as she gasped for air. "Please," she choked out, voice cracking. "I can't feel baby B moving. Something's wrong." Her words trembled with a fear that carved straight through Damien's chest. He had faced hostile takeovers, international negotiations, and life-altering decisions. But none of those compared to the terror of watching Rowan lose color as the fetal monitor dipped again. A doctor leaned over her, voice urgent. "Baby B's heart rate is unstable. We need to evaluate for cord compression or placental abruption." Rowan's breath hitched. Is he dying?" "We're doing everything we can," the doctor reassured, but his clipped tone betrayed the stakes. Damien stepped forward. "What do you need? Tell me what to do." "Stay out of the way," one doctor replied. "Let us work." But Damien didn't move far. He stayed where she could see him, where she could reach him, where she wouldn't feel alone. Behind them, Savannah watched with a mixture of dread and denial. Whatever cracks had formed in her polished exterior now fractured completely. She turned to Elise. "This wasn't supposed to happen," Savannah whispered. I didn't mean..." "Save it," Elise snapped. "You played with lives tonight." Savannah's eyes darted toward Rowan. "I thought she was using him. I thought she was after his money." "You thought wrong," Elise hissed, "and you might have just cost a baby his life." Savannah's face drained, and she stumbled back until her shoulder hit the wall. Carter didn't move at all. His jaw was rigid, eyes locked on Rowan, but not with concern. With calculation. A man weighing outcomes. "If baby B doesn't make it," Carter muttered under his breath, "custody gets easier." Damien heard it. He turned. Slowly. Dangerously. "What did you just say?" Carter shrugged, trying to appear unaffected. "I'm just saying..." Elise stepped between them before Damien launched across the room. Not here, but it was too late. Damien's expression had already transformed into something primal. A doctor's voice cut through the escalating fury. "We're prepping for an emergency C-section if the numbers don't stabilize." Rowan's panic spiked. "Damien?" she whispered, reaching for him. He was at her side instantly, taking her hand in both of his. "I'm here. I'm right here. Look at me." Her eyes glistened with tears. "I don't want to lose him." "You won't." His voice trembled despite his best effort. "You won't lose either of them. I won't let that happen." But even as he said it, the monitor dipped again, longer this time. Rowan's breath hitched. "Tell them to save him. Promise me." "I promise," Damien whispered, pressing his forehead to hers. "I promise." A contraction surged, violent enough to arch her back. The doctor checked her again and swore under his breath. "She's progressing too fast. We may not make it to surgery." "Meaning what?" Damien demanded. "Meaning she might have to deliver both babies naturally under distress," the doctor replied, "and baby B may not tolerate it." Rowan sobbed, shaking. Damien squeezed her hand. "You're stronger than you think. You've survived worse than this." Her lips trembled. "Not this. Not my babies." Another doctor entered, holding a portable ultrasound. "We need to check baby B's oxygen flow." The screen flickered to life grainy black and white. Baby A moved faintly. Baby B was frighteningly still. Rowan's entire body went cold. "Please move," she whispered. "Please just move." The doctor adjusted the probe. A pause. A silence so heavy it crushed the air from the room. Then, a faint kick. Rowan gasped. Damien exhaled with a shaky relief he didn't bother hiding. The room surged with energy again. The doctor's barking orders renewed with hope. But before anyone could celebrate, a nurse burst into the suite, breathless. "We have a problem," she said. Security found something in the waiting room. Something addressed to Rowan Hale. The nurse held up a small white envelope. Damien frowned. "What is it?" The nurse swallowed. "It's a threat. And it's signed by someone none of you are going to believe." The small white envelope dangled from the nurse's trembling fingers as if it were radioactive. The printing on the front, Rowan Hale, looked clean and deliberate, the kind of handwriting that wanted to be recognized. The hallway buzzed with the hum of life and death urgency, but inside the delivery suite, everything went still. Even Rowan's contractions seemed to pause for half a second as she stared at it. A threat? Damien repeated, stepping protectively in front of her bed. Who would? He didn't finish the sentence. No one needed to guess. Carter's face revealed everything. A flicker of shock, a flicker of guilt, a flicker of something darker. Elise caught it instantly. What did you do? Elise demanded, her voice like ice splintering. Carter scoffed, trying to regain composure. I didn't write anything. Why would I? Because you forge everything else, Elise snapped. Why stop at threats? The nurse held out the envelope carefully, as if it might explode. Security found it taped under a chair in the waiting room, with her name on the outside. Damien took it before Carter could even move. His hands were steady, but Rowan saw the tendons in his wrists tighten. He slid a finger under the flap and pulled out a single folded sheet. The room held its breath. He opened it. His eyes narrowed. What does it say? Rowan whispered, her voice fragile. Damien hesitated. Just a second, but enough for Rowan's stomach to twist. Then he read aloud. You'll pay for ruining everything. You think you can trap him? Think again. When he finds out the truth, your life won't be the one that ends. Rowan's pulse spiked. Damien. He shook his head fast. No. None of this is real. It's just intimidation. But Elise stepped closer, plucking the paper from his hand. This handwriting, it's feminine. Safana stiffened. That doesn't mean anything, she snapped too quickly. Elise turned slowly toward her. Your foundation's gala invitations, same handwriting style. The loops on the Y, the way you cross your T's with a long line. Savannah's throat bobbed. Give me a break. You think I'd write some creepy letter? You think I'm that desperate? You sent her ex-husband, Elise shot back. Nothing about desperation is new for you. Hey, Carter cut in. Don't try to pin this on her just because she... He stopped abruptly, because every head turned. At him. Damien's voice dropped to a low, lethal tone. You two were working together. Savannah's eyes went wide. No. God, no. I just wanted Rowan gone so you'd see she was... A threat? Damien finished. His expression hardened. Rowan has never threatened anyone. Savannah flinched. You don't understand. She lied. No, Damien said. You lied. Another contraction slammed into Rowan, bending her forward as she clutched the bed rails, a cry ripping from her lips. The nurse rushed back to her side. We don't have time for this, the nurse barked. Her blood pressure is climbing again. The babies are in danger. Rowan gasped for breath. Damien hurried back to her, wiping her forehead gently. I'm here. I'm staying right here. But she could barely hear him. Pain radiated through her entire body, heat flooding her face. Her vision blurred, black spots forming around the edges. Damien, she whispered. It hurts. Something's wrong. The doctor rushed in. Her oxygen's dropping. Move her now. The nurse grabbed the bed's end rail, pushing hard. They barreled down the hall toward the main delivery suite, alarms echoing. Savannah stood frozen, pale, and shaking. Carter watched Rowan disappear around the corner, something unreadable twisting his features. As the doors swung closed behind the gurney, Damien turned back one last time. Both of you, he said to Carter and Savannah, stay away from her, because when this night is over, I will make sure you answer for everything. But just as he turned to run after Rowan, Savannah whispered, barely audible, Damien, you should read the back of that letter. He froze, turned. Elise flipped the page, and her breath caught, because the signature wasn't Savannah's or Carter's. It belonged to someone Rowan never thought she'd fear. Elise stared at the back of the letter, her eyes squinting as though her brain refused to process the looping signature. For a moment, she didn't speak. Couldn't speak. The hallway lights hummed softly above her, filling the silence with a faint, eerie buzz. Damien took the paper from her hand. What does it? His breath hitched. The signature was unmistakable. Marilyn Hale, Rowan's biological mother, the same woman Rowan believed had died when she was 7. Damien's brow knitted. This has to be a mistake. It's not, Elise murmured, voice tight. I've seen legal signatures for 20 years. This is real. But her mother is dead, Damien insisted. Rowan told me. She told you what she was told, Elise corrected. But someone used that name with confidence. Someone who knows enough to weaponize it. Savanapalid. Wait. Are you saying her dead mother is sending threats? That's insane. Yes, Elise snapped. Which means one of you is lying, or someone else is playing a sick game. Damien's jaw clenched. Who knew Rowan's maiden name? Who knew enough about her past to plant something like this? Savannah and Carter exchanged a look, one quick, tight, telling. Damien stepped closer to them. What do you know? Carter lifted his chin in defiance. Nothing. Savannah rubbed her arms, gaze darting away. I don't, Damien. I don't know anything, okay? I only knew what Carter told me about her, that she had a messed up childhood and no family. Elise's eyes narrowed. How would Carter know anything detailed about her childhood? Foster records don't get handed out with parking tickets. Carter's jaw twitched. We were married. That doesn't give you access to sealed state files, Elise interrupted. Unless someone handed them to you. Savannah's face blanched. Oh God. What? Damien barked. Savannah's voice trembled. Carter got a package a few weeks ago. I didn't open it, I swear. But he was acting weird for days. He said it was leverage. Elise swore under her breath. He had her childhood records? Who would have sent those? Damien turned back to the signature. Marilyn Hale. Rowan's mother. Someone was using that name to terrorize a woman already in labor, already fighting for her baby's lives. Someone was playing the deepest wound of her past against her, and Damien's blood ran cold. Because if Rowan saw this letter, if she believed for even 1 second that her mother was alive and haunting her life, it could break her. He shoved the letter into Elise's hands. Seal it in an evidence bag. Keep it away from Rowan. We need to investigate this, Elise said urgently. But before Damien could respond, the overhead speakers crackled. Code Blue. Labor and Delivery Suite 2. Code Blue. It was Rowan's room. Damien's heart stopped. He sprinted down the hall, ripping past nurses and pushing through the glass doors. The room exploded into frantic motion. Doctors gathered around Rowan, machines blaring, her face pale and drenched in sweat. Her blood pressures crashing. One nurse yelled. Baby B is non-reactive again, another shouted. Damien pushed forward. Rowan, I'm here. Her eyes flickered open for half a second. Just long enough to find him. Damien, she whispered, barely audible. Please, don't let me die. His chest cracked with fear. You're not dying. You hear me? You're not. The doctor barked. We need to move now. Prep for emergency C-section. Rowan gasped for breath, her body trembling violently. The monitors screamed louder. Damien grabbed her hand tightly. I'm not leaving you, he whispered. You're going to meet our sons, I swear it. The doctors swung the gurney toward the OR, but just as they pushed the bed through the double doors, a voice echoed down the hall, breathless and breaking. Wait, stop, you can't operate on her. Everyone turned. A woman stood at the end of the corridor. Brown hair, pale skin, shaking hands clutching a worn leather purse, and eyes that mirrored Rowan's. I'm her mother, the woman whispered. Marilyn Hale. And she's not supposed to survive surgery. The hallway froze. Nurses halted mid-stride. The OR doors hung open like a mouth waiting to swallow Rowan whole. Damien's chest seized as he turned toward the trembling woman at the far end of the corridor. Her voice had been fragile, but the name she spoke detonated through the air. Rowan's mother, Marilyn Hale, alive. Elise was the first to react, stepping forward with the cold precision of a courtroom predator. Identify yourself. Now. The woman swallowed hard. My name is Marilyn Hale. I'm Rowan's mother. 1. That's impossible, Damien said sharply. Rowan believes you died when she was a child. Marilyn's voice cracked. Because someone wanted her to believe that. Before she could say more, Rowan moaned from the gurney, her body tightening with another brutal contraction. The fetal monitor screamed again. A doctor shouted, We don't have time. She's crashing, we need to move. But Marilyn pushed forward, desperation spilling from every movement. You can't operate on her. She has a rare genetic reaction to anesthesia. She could go into cardiac arrest on the table. The room spiraled into chaos. A nurse paled. We need to verify that. There's no time, the surgeon barked. Her pressure's dropping by the second. Damien moved fast, placing himself between Marilyn and the medical staff. If what she's saying is true, Elise cut in. We don't know who she is. She could be lying. Marilyn ripped open her worn purse and pulled out a thin folder old medical records, brittle with age. These are her pediatric charts. They show the reaction. And the note from the specialist warning that anesthesia is high risk for her. The attending physician snatched the papers, flipping through them with frantic eyes. If this is real, a C-section could kill her. Rowan whimpered in agony, her hand searching blindly until Damien grasped it. Damien, she breathed, voice paper thin. Don't let them cut me. His heart ripped open. I won't, I promise. Carter suddenly shoved forward, face red with panic. She's lying. She's trying to stall so Rowan can manipulate Damien. Elise blocked him instantly. Shut your mouth, Carter. But Carter's eyes darted wildly between Marilyn and Rowan. That's not her mother. Her mother is dead. I saw the certificate. You saw what someone wanted you to see, Marilyn snapped. I had to disappear to protect her. You don't know anything about what she lived through. Enough, Damien thundered. We need a decision now. The doctor looked from the monitor to Rowan's ghost-white skin. If we can't cut, we have one option. Deliver both babies naturally fast. But baby B is in distress, the nurse argued. He may not tolerate the pressure. We don't have a choice, the doctor said. If we cut her open, we might lose the mother. Rowan sobbed, trembling violently. I'm scared. Damien leaned over her, brushing her damp hair back. You're not alone. I'm right here. I'm not letting anything happen to you or our sons. Her eyes flickered open at the word, our. It gave her enough strength to hold on. The doctor barked orders. We need another team in here. Prep for an assisted natural delivery. As they rushed her into the suite, Marilyn reached for Rowan, but a guard stepped in front of her. Ma'am, you can't enter. No. I need to be with her, she pleaded. She doesn't even know I'm alive. Elise stepped closer, studying her. If you're telling the truth, why now? Why tonight? Marilyn's eyes filled with tears. Because the person who forced me to disappear, the person who stole Rowan's childhood. She looked past Elise, straight at Carter. Is standing right there. Carter's face drained of color. Damien stiffened. What did you just say? Marilyn's voice shook. He wasn't just her husband. He was part of the reason I had to vanish. Carter took one step back, and Rowan, half-conscious, whispered Damien's name, right before the monitor flatlined for baby B. We're losing him again. The sound of the fetal monitor collapsing into a single long note ripped through the delivery suite like a blade. Doctors rushed in all directions. A nurse slammed the emergency button. Another moved to reposition Rowan on her side, shouting for oxygen. Rowan's lips trembled. Damien. Her voice was barely a thread. I can't feel him. Damien leaned close, gripping her hand with both of his. Stay with me, Rowan. Look at me. Keep your eyes open. But her eyelids fluttered. Her face was too pale. Her breaths came too slow. Marilyn stood outside the suite, hands pressed to the glass window, tears streaking down her lined cheeks. Please, please don't let her die, she whispered to no one and everyone. Elise tugged at Damien's arm. She needs to know the truth about him. She deserves to know before this gets worse. Damien's jaw tightened. Not now. Especially now, Elise shot back. Before that monster twists it. That monster Carter stood several feet behind them, his expression a fractured blend of fear and fury. He looked like a man watching his empire crumble, brick by brick, but refusing to admit the foundation had always been rotten. I didn't do anything, he muttered to himself, voice shaking. I didn't do anything wrong. She ruined everything. Elise spun toward him. You're responsible for far more than Rowan ever knew. Carter's face twisted. You think you know anything about us? I know enough, Elise snapped. Enough to know you were involved long before you ever married her. Damien froze. Elise. His voice turned razor, sharp. What are you talking about? But Elise wasn't letting go now, not when Rowan's life hung between worlds. She grabbed the folder she carried earlier, the one loaded with documents, evidence, whispers of crimes that had finally crawled into the light. She slapped the folder against Damien's chest. "Read the final page." Damien flipped through, confusion morphing into dawning horror. These are intake forms, foster care files, medical notes. Why do we have Rowan's childhood records? Because this isn't about the letter, Elise said. It's about the reason her mother disappeared. Oh, Carter lunged. "Shut up." Damien shoved him back with one hand, eyes burning. "Talk." Elise exhaled, shakily. Years ago, when Rowan was a child, her mother reported a man for stalking them. A man who kept showing up at their apartment, watching the little girl, leaving toys on the doorstep. The report never led anywhere because the mother vanished before a case could be built. Elise lifted her chin. That man's name was Carter Briggs. Damien's blood turned to ice. Rowan's mother's voice cracked behind the glass. He wanted Rowan even then. He obsessed over her. I tried to get away, but someone made sure my disappearance looked like abandonment. Carter's eyes burned with panic. "She's lying. She's insane. You don't know anything." Damien lunged, grabbing Carter by the shirt collar. "You stalked her? You terrorized her family? You made her think her mother was dead?" Carter wheezed. "She was supposed to be left alone until she turned 18. She wasn't. Rowan was never supposed to." Damien slammed him against the wall. "Say it." Carter sucked in a breath. "She wasn't supposed to live with anyone else. She was supposed to come back to me." Damien's fist tightened. But before he could strike, a doctor burst from the delivery room, breathless, coat stained with amniotic fluid and blood. "We need the father now." Damien spun. "What happened? Is Rowan?" "Baby B's heart is failing," the doctor said. "We can't stabilize him. And Rowan's blood pressure is crashing." Marilyn collapsed against the window frame, sobbing. "My baby girl," the doctor continued, eyes locking onto Damien. "She's refusing anesthesia. She keeps saying she'll die. We need someone she trusts to calm her down." Damien didn't hesitate. He shoved past Carter, past Elise, past everything that had detonated in the hallway. He sprinted into the delivery suite. Rowan lay twisted in pain, tears streaking her cheeks, whispering something over and over. "I don't want to die. Don't let me. Don't let me." Damien Kaltbesed here, cupping her face. "You're not dying," he said fiercely. "Not tonight. Not ever. Do you hear me?" Her gaze flickered, barely conscious. "Damien. I'm so scared." "I know," he whispered. "But I'm right here. I'm not letting go." The doctor pushed equipment toward the bed. "We have seconds. If baby B flatlines again, we lose him." Damien squeezed Rowan's trembling hand, and she finally whispered the truth she had been too afraid to say aloud. "Damien, if I don't make it, promise you'll take care of them. Promise." His voice shattered. "I promise. But you are going to meet your sons. I swear it." The monitor spiked, then fell. A doctor yelled, "We're losing both mother and child." "Hi." And as Rowan's consciousness slipped away, the doors slammed open, and someone unexpected stepped inside with a court order that could stop the entire delivery. The delivery room was a battlefield of alarms and frantic voices. Nurses moved with urgent precision, the doctor barked orders, and Rowan's body convulsed with exhaustion and terror. Damien stayed at her side, holding her trembling hand as if sheer will alone could anchor her to life. "Keep your eyes on me," he whispered urgently. "Rowan, stay with me, please." But her vision faded in and out, darkness creeping along the edges. Her lips quivered. "Damien, help. I'm right here. I'm not letting go." Then, the doors exploded open. A gust of cold hallway air swept into the chaos, carrying in a figure with a raised hand and a stack of papers stamped with the blue seal of the Los Angeles County Superior Court. Carter Briggs stepped inside, wild-eyed and sweating, waving a restraining order like a weapon. "No one touches her. No surgery. No procedures," he screamed. "I have a court order preventing any medical action until paternity is resolved." The room erupted. "What?" the doctor roared. "She's in critical distress. This is life or death." Carter thrust the paper at him. "You operate, and I'll sue this hospital into the ground." Damien surged to his feet, pure fury radiating off him. "You're going to kill her. Get out of here. She's my responsibility." Carter shouted. "She was my wife. Her babies could be mine. You can't just steal them." Marilyn, still outside the glass, pounded on the window. "Stop him. He's going to kill my daughter." Elise sprinted into the room behind Carter. "That order is temporary. It doesn't apply in emergent circumstances." Carter spun on her. "The judge signed it. It's binding." "No judge," Elise snapped, "can override the medical necessity to save a life." Carter's voice cracked with desperation. "She lied to me. She left me. She tried to erase me. I won't let her take my children." "They are not your children," Damien roared. Carter lunged for him, but two nurses and Elise intercepted, shoving him back. The paper crumpled in his grip. The doctor didn't wait. "Enough. This order is invalid during a code blue. Move him out." Security rushed in. Carter swung wildly, knocking over a tray of instruments. "Don't touch her," he shrieked. "She belongs to me. She always has." "One." Damien's fist clenched, knuckles whitening, but he didn't get the chance to strike, because Rowan suddenly cried out in agony. Her body arched violently, monitors exploding into warning tones. The doctor darted back to her side. "We're running out of time. Baby B's heart rate is nearly undetectable." Damien rushed to Rowan again. "Rowan, look at me. Stay with me. I need you." She blinked slowly, her lips parting. "Damien, I'm cold." He swallowed hard, brushing her cheek. "Hold on, sweetheart. I'm right here. I'm not leaving." The doctor's voice boomed, urgent. "We deliver now. No anesthesia. No delay." A nurse took position. Another supported Rowan's legs. The doctor guided her through the next contraction. "Rowan," he said firmly, "I need you to push. Now." She sobbed. I can't." Damien cupped her face, forehead against hers. "Yes, you can. You're stronger than anything that's ever tried to break you." The contraction hit like a tidal wave. Rowan pushed, screaming through clenched teeth, the sound tearing from the deepest part of her. And then, a faint cry. "Baby A." A nurse lifted the tiny boy, pressing him briefly to Rowan's chest before whisking him to the warmer. But the doctor didn't pause. "Keep pushing," he commanded. "Baby B's heart rate is almost gone." Rowan trembled, her body racked with exhaustion. Damien held her as she drew a shaking breath. "One more, Rowan," he whispered fiercely. "One more. For him." She pushed, collapsed, then pushed again, with a guttural cry that shook the room. The doctor leaned in, eyes widening. "I've got him." But before he could complete the sentence, a sudden violent shudder went through Rowan's body. The monitor flatlined, and Damien screamed her name as the room erupted into chaos. "Code Blue Mother is unresponsive." For a moment, the world stopped moving. The screaming monitors, the shouting nurses, the flurry of hands, everything blurred into a muffled echo as Damien stared at the flatline pulsing across Rowan's monitor. His heartbeat surged so violently he felt it in his throat, in his ears, in every trembling inch of him. "Rowan, Rowan, stay with me," he shouted, grabbing her limp hand. Her fingers, those warm, gentle fingers that once traced the scars on his wrist during a quiet moment in the ER, were now icy. A doctor barked, "Start compressions." Nurses moved in instantly. A tech yanked back the bed rails, and another began chest compressions, sharp, rhythmic pushes that made Rowan's frail body jerk with each one. Her head rolled slightly to the side, her hair damp and matted to her temples. Damien couldn't breathe. "Please, don't take her," he whispered to no one and everyone. Baby B, only seconds old, lay silent in the doctor's hands. No movement, no cry, no breath. 2 lives slipping away at once. The doctor working on Baby B moved quickly, suctioning, stimulating the tiny chest with practiced hands. "Come on, little one. Come on." Another nurse scribbled vitals. "No heart rate, no respirations." "Apgar 1. Marilyn Hale clung to the glass window outside the delivery room, her sobs raw and animalistic. "Rowan, my baby, please wake up." Elise pulled her back, but tears streamed down her own face. "We can't go in. They need space." Inside, Damien pressed his forehead to Rowan's limp hand, whispering against her skin. "You promised me you'd meet them. You promised me you'd fight." "I'm not letting you leave me, Rowan, I just found you." Flashbacks burned across his mind. Her warm laugh at the fundraiser, her gentle hands wrapping a bandage around his arm, her small smile the night they shared whispered truths in his penthouse kitchen overlooking Beverly Hills, her voice trembling when she told him she didn't deserve someone like him. He should have told her then. Should have fought harder. Should have never let her walk away. Charge to 200, a doctor ordered. A defibrillator paddles were pressed against her chest. Clear. Her body jolted violently. The line remained flat. Damien's vision blurred. He grabbed the doctor's coat. Do it again. Do it again. Sir, do it again. The doctor hesitated, then nodded. Charge to 200. Clear. Ma. Another jolt. Rowan's head snapped back, her arms twitching. Still flott. Damien's knees nearly buckled. The world felt like it was caving in. He whispered through clenched teeth, voice breaking like shattered glass. Rowan, please, don't leave our sons without you. Don't leave me. As if answering him, Baby A suddenly wailed from the warmer, loud, strong, startling half the room. The sound punched through the chaos like a spark of life. But Baby B remained silent. And Rowan, motionless. Then, as the compressions continued, a faint blip, so small it looked like a glitch. The nurse froze. Wait, hold compressions. Everyone stared at the monitor. A beat. Then another. Sinus rhythm returning, the nurse cried. Damien exhaled a broken sob, pressing his forehead to Rowan's hand again. That's it. That's it. Sweetheart. Come back to me. But the relief lasted only seconds, because Baby B still hadn't made a sound. The doctor working on him suddenly stiffened. I may have a pulse weak carotid beat faint, but present. Damien's breath caught in his throat. Please, please cry. The doctor stimulated Baby B again, rubbing the tiny chest, flicking the soles of his feet, suctioning his mouth. Come on, little guy. Nothing. Then, a sputter. A cough. A tiny squeak. The smallest cry broke free, thin but alive. Baby B was breathing. Nurses cheered through tears. Marilyn collapsed outside the window with gratitude. Damien kissed Rowan's hand, whispering, You did it. You saved him. But the doctor wasn't finished. Her pressure's still unstable, he warned. She's not out of danger. Prepare for massive transfusion protocol. And just as Damien turned toward him, a detective in a badge stepped into the doorway. I'm looking for Rowan Hale, he said. We have evidence connected to an attempted homicide. And the suspect is someone currently inside this hospital. Less. The detective's voice sliced through the room, like a courtroom gavel hitting wood. Nurses turned. The doctor froze with bloodied gloves. Damien's heart kicked hard against his ribs as he stepped between the detective and Rowan's fragile body. She's fighting for her life, Damien said. If you're here for questions, you can wait. The detective, broad-shouldered, late 40s, eyes sharp as polished steel, lifted a hand. I'm not here to question. I'm here to protect. And to detain a suspect. Hall. Elise stepped forward, her lawyer's instincts snapping into place. Detective. Identify yourself. Detective Harlan Pierce, LAPD Special Crimes, he said, flipping open his badge. And we have credible evidence linking someone in this building to an attempted homicide involving Rowan Hale. Marilyn, still trembling near the glass, pressed a hand to her mouth. Who? Who would hurt my daughter? Pierce's gaze drifted toward Carter first. Carter immediately bristled. You're looking at me? What evidence do you think you have? Pierce didn't flinch. Earlier tonight, hospital security recovered a threat letter addressed to Miss Hale. Handwriting analysis is already underway, but that's not the only thing we found. Elise crossed her arms. Go on. Pierce nodded to an officer waiting outside the doorway. The officer stepped forward, holding a clear evidence bag. Inside it was a small vial, half full, dark red residue clinging to the glass. Damien's blood turned to ice. What is that? A concentrated oxytocin compound, Pierce said. When injected without medical supervision, it can provoke early labor, uterine rupture, or fetal distress. The room went dead silent. Rowan had gone into sudden, severe labor. Too early, too fast, too violently. Damien's jaw clenched. Are you saying someone tried to induce her labor intentionally? Pierce nodded. We found the vial in a trash bin outside this very ward, wrapped in a paper towel used to wipe fingerprints. But the towel had traces of foundation, expensive foundation, likely from a woman. Savannah stiffened instantly. Elise's eyes snapped toward her. You. Savannah's lips parted in shock. I don't even wear liquid foundation. My makeup artist. Pierce lifted another evidence bag. Inside was a napkin smudged with a pale rose shade. Matches the one you wore tonight at the charity banquet, Pierce said calmly. Savannah backed up until her spine hit the wall. No. No. I didn't inject her with anything. I only came here to talk to Damien. I only wanted... Her voice cracked. I only wanted her gone. That's motive, Elise said. That's not proof, Savannah shrieked. But Pierce wasn't looking at her anymore. He turned, slowly, deliberately, toward Carter. We also matched prints on the vial to a partial thumbprint, he said. A print belonging to someone who has been in and out of Rowan Hale's life for years. Someone with a known pattern of controlling behavior. Carter's eyes widened. No, this is insane. You had access to her purse, Pierce continued. Her locker at work. Her mail. You knew her medical history. You knew how much pressure her pregnancy was under. Carter shook his head violently. She lied to me. She pushed me away. I was trying to save us. Damien lunged forward. Elise grabbed his arm just in time. Not now. But Pierce held up a hand. We have enough to bring him in. Carter's face twisted into panic. You can't arrest me. I'm the father. You're nothing. Damien snapped, voice breaking with rage. You nearly killed her. You nearly killed our sons. Security grabbed Carter by the arms. He fought wildly. You don't understand. If she left me, if she took everything, she left you because you destroyed her life, Damien shot back. And now you're going to pay for every second of pain you caused. Carter's face contorted, but his eyes dark and desperate locked onto Damien with chilling clarity. You think you've won? He spat. You think she'll live long enough to thank you? Damien went still. The doctor turned sharply. What are you talking about? Carter's lips curled into a trembling, poisonous smile. You're too late. Elise's breath caught. What did you do? Carter leaned forward as the officers dragged him away. I didn't just induce her labor. His voice dropped to a whisper, cold and triumphant. I poisoned her blood pressure meds. Marilyn screamed. Damien's world shattered. And Detective Pierce's face turned grave as he barked an order to the medical team. Check her bloodstream now. She may be dying from more than childbirth. Huh. The moment Carter's confession echoed down the corridor, the atmosphere inside the delivery suite detonated into pure panic. Nurses rushed in every direction. A doctor cursed under his breath. Machines beeped erratically, each alarm stabbing the air like shards of broken glass. Damien felt as if the floor beneath him had dropped away. Poison. In her bloodstream. In Rowan's bloodstream. No, he whispered, stepping closer to her bed. No. Rowan, please wake up. But Rowan didn't respond. Her face was ghostly pale, lips trembling, breath shallow and fading. Her fragile body twitched under the medical team's frantic movements. Draw labs immediately, the lead physician shouted. Get a full toxicology panel. Now. Move. A nurse inserted a fresh line into Rowan's arm. Her hands trembling so hard she needed another nurse to steady her. Blood filled the vial dark, almost sluggish. Damien felt sick. Elise grabbed Detective Pierce by the arm. If he poisoned her, we need to know what he used. We need the compound identified now. Pierce nodded. We're pressing him in holding. But without specifics, the hospital has to treat her blind. Damien turned to the doctor. What does that mean? Can you flush it? Can you counteract it? The doctor wiped sweat from his brow. Not if we don't know what it is. Poisoning during childbirth puts her in acute crisis. She's losing blood. Her organs are compensating. We need to stabilize her before the effects spread. She has 2 newborns, Damien said, voice shaking. She needs to wake up. She needs them. Right now, the doctor said gently. She needs us to keep her alive. A monitor suddenly shrieked. Rowan's oxygen dipped again dangerously low. Push another bolus, the nurse yelled. Marilyn collapsed against the doorframe. My daughter, my sweet girl. Please stay. Damien leaned closer to Rowan, brushing a trembling thumb across her cheek. Rowan, listen to me. You're not done. You're not allowed to leave. Not after everything you survived. Her eyelids fluttered for half a second, just enough for him to see a flicker of awareness. "Damien," she whispered, voice barely audible. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. It burns," she whispered weakly. "Inside my chest." His heart shattered. "I know, sweetheart. They're going to fix it. You just have to hold on." But her eyes rolled back, and she slipped under again. The doctor barked, "We need to transfuse. Prepare the crash cart. Her vitals are unstable." Elise tightened her jaw. "Whatever Carter did, we'll make sure he rots for it." Detective Pierce nodded grimly. That confession just upgraded his charges to attempted homicide. "But we still need the poison identified." Then he turned toward Marilyn. "Ma'am, you knew Rowan's medical history better than anyone. Has she ever reacted badly to medication? Anything unusual?" Marilyn wiped her tears. "She has, but that was when she was a child." "What medication?" Pierce pressed. I don't remember the name, but it made her collapse. Seizures. They had to pump her stomach. It was so long ago." The doctor snapped his fingers. "Check the pediatric file for her allergies." Elise dove into the old folder Marilyn brought. She flipped rapidly through brittle pages until, "Here," she cried. "Rowan had a severe reaction to a specific class of antihypertensives. One compound triggered immediate cardiac distress." The doctor snatched the file. His eyes widened. "If that's what he gave her, we may have a counteragent." Damien nearly collapsed with relief. "Then give it to her. We need confirmation first." "There's no time," Damien roared. But the doctor stood firm. "If we give the wrong antidote, we could kill her instantly." A nurse rushed back in with the stat lab results. "Doctor, her blood sample." The doctor scanned the page. His face drained of all color. "It's not one compound." Everyone froze. He looked up, horrified. She was given a combination, multiple toxins. Damien's breath caught. "What does that mean?" The doctor stepped back from the monitor, voice hollow. "It means he didn't just try to end her pregnancy. He looked Damien dead in the eyes. He tried to end her." The doctor's words hung in the air like a death sentence. "Multiple toxins. Not an accident. Not a miscalculation. An attempt to kill Rowan Hale." Damien felt the world tilt, his pulse roaring in his ears. His vision narrowing until he saw only her pale, lifeless face on the hospital bed. He'd been scared before, furious before. But nothing compared to this. This was the kind of fear that gutted a man from the inside. "Start the antidote protocol," the doctor ordered sharply. "We'll treat the compounds one by one. She may not respond quickly." "Lon." A nurse snapped open the emergency kit, drawing medications into syringes. Another fitted Rowan with a fresh oxygen mask. Her chest rose unevenly, too shallow, too slow. Damien watched every breath like it might be her last. "Her heart rhythm is unstable," a tech warned. "We're losing perfusion." Damien stepped closer, taking Rowan's limp hand in his. "Sweetheart, listen to me. You're not leaving. Do you hear me? You've fought too hard, too long." No response. Her fingers didn't twitch. Her eyelids didn't move. He lifted her hand to his forehead. "You're my family now. Our sons need you. I need you." His voice cracked. "Come back to me." Outside the glass, Marilyn sobbed uncontrollably. Elise stood with one hand on her shoulder, her eyes red, though she pretended they weren't. Detective Pierce spoke quietly to a uniformed officer. "Get a full team through the hospital. If that vial was planted, the suspect may not have acted alone." "No." Savannah, shaking uncontrollably, whispered, "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know he'd go this far." Elise spun on her. "You helped him. Maybe you didn't inject her, but you played your part." Savannah sagged against the wall, covering her face. "I just wanted Damien to see her as a problem. I didn't know." Pierce cut in. "Intent doesn't erase consequence." Damien didn't hear any of it. He was focused on Rowan's faint pulse, the tiny flicker beneath her skin, the slight movement of her chest. The doctor administered the first antidote. "One toxin neutralized," the nurse said. "Two more left." Rowan's heart monitor flickered, then slowed again. "Come on," the doctor murmured. "Fight." But her body didn't fight. Her blood pressure dropped another 5 points. Damien's voice broke. "Rowan. Rowan. I know you can hear me. You survived your childhood. You survived him. Don't stop now. Her chest barely rose. The doctor injected the second antidote. Rowan didn't move. A cold dread seeped into Damien's spine. He pressed his forehead against her temple. I need you. I need you more than I've ever needed anything. The monitor beeped weakly. The doctor pulled back. Her body is overwhelmed. If she doesn't respond to the last antidote, we may lose her. Damien's knees nearly buckled. Give it to her. The doctor hesitated. This antidote is aggressive. If it reacts badly with the other two, give it to her, Damien repeated, voice low and shaking. Or I will. The doctor injected the final antidote. Rowan's body convulsed violently. Her back arched. The monitor spiked, then dipped, then flatlined. Marilyn screamed outside the glass. Damien grabbed her shoulders. Rowan! Rowan! Stay with me. The doctor shouted. Code blue again. Start compressions. 1. A nurse climbed onto the bed, beginning chest compressions as Rowan's body jerked beneath her palms. Damien pressed his fist to his mouth, tears streaking down his face. Don't go, don't go. And then, the monitor blipped. Just once. Then again. A faint heartbeat. Sinus rhythm returning, the nurse shouted. Rowan gasped air finally filling her lungs, her eyelids fluttering open for a split second. Her lips formed a single word. Damien. He nearly collapsed with relief. I'm here. No. But the doctor stiffened. We stabilized her, he said. But she's slipping into toxic shock. We need to get her to ICU. The nurse pushed the bed toward the door. And that's when the hospital lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then the entire wing went black. Power outage. Someone had cut the electricity. And Rowan Hale was trapped on life support. The blackout swallowed the hallway in an instant, lights snapping off, machines dying mid-beep, monitors dropping into silence as if someone had sliced the wires. Nurses gasped. A tech cursed. Somewhere down the corridor, a metal tray crashed to the floor, the sound echoing like gunfire in the dark. For a terrifying heartbeat, all Damien could hear was Rowan's faint breathing and the frantic thump of his own pulse. Emergency lights flickered, once dim red, but didn't fully engage. What the hell? The doctor muttered. A nurse shouted, Generators aren't turning on. Detective Pierce reached for his radio. This wasn't an outage. Someone sabotaged the backup system. Sabotaged. In a hospital. With Rowan fighting for her life. Damien's breath locked in his chest. Move her. Get her to ICU now. The doctor grabbed the bed rail, his voice taut. We can't. Her life support is failing. We need power to stabilize her. Oh. Rowan's oxygen mask fogged faintly, her breaths growing weaker without assisted flow. Damien pressed a hand to her cheek. Stay with me. Stay with me. A single emergency light sputtered overhead, casting the room in a dark, crimson glow that made everything feel surreal, dangerous. Elise pulled out her phone. No service. Not even emergency calls. Marilyn stumbled inside the room, trembling. Someone's trying to finish what he started. Savannah backed into a corner, shaking so violently her coat slipped off her shoulders. I didn't do this. I swear to God, I didn't. Detective Pierce shined a small flashlight down the hall. We're dealing with someone else. He turned toward Damien. Someone with access. Someone who knew exactly when Rowan was weakest. A cold dread washed down Damien's spine. Who else wanted Rowan gone? A nurse grabbed a portable oxygen tank. Manual ventilation, we need to keep her breathing until power returns. She strapped a hand pump device to Rowan's mask and began squeezing rhythmically. Rowan's chest rose with each compression, painfully slow. Marilyn leaned over her daughter, stroking her hair. My baby girl, fight. Damien swallowed hard. She will. A sudden crash erupted from the hallway. Everyone flinched. The detective drew his weapon. Stay back. He stepped into the hall, flashlights slicing through darkness. The shadows stretched unnaturally long, swallowing the tiled floor and transforming every corner into a threat. Then, footsteps. Soft, deliberate, approaching. Elise, take cover, Damien whispered. He moved closer to Rowan, shielding her with his body. The detective raised his voice. LAPD, show yourself. No answer. Just those slow, steady footsteps. Elise whispered, "Damien." "Who?" And then a figure appeared at the far end of the hallway, barely illuminated by the dying emergency light. A tall silhouette, shoulders square, something metallic glinting in his hand. Not Carter. He was already in custody. Not Savannah. She was barely standing. Not Marilyn. No. This figure moved like someone who knew the hospital's layout, who understood the system, who knew exactly which corridor to take when the power failed. Someone who had been here all along. Detective Pierce aimed his weapon. "Stop right there." The figure paused, then took one step forward. The flashlight beam landed on his face. Elise gasped. "No. No. It can't be." Damien's stomach turned to stone. It was Dr. Lowell, Rowan's former attending physician. The same doctor who had lost parts of her medical records years ago. The same doctor Carter always insisted she see. The same doctor who had conveniently been on duty the night of her sudden fall months earlier. "Hello, Rowan," Dr. Lowell said quietly, though she could barely hear him. "You should have died years ago." He raised the metallic object, and Damien lunged forward, just as the doctor stepped closer, holding a syringe filled with a clear, lethal solution. Dr. Lowell's shadow stretched long across the red emergency glow, his white coat looking ghostly in the dim hallway. The syringe in his hand caught the faint light clear liquid, deadly, precise. A poison meant to finish what Carter had already begun. Damien stepped in front of Rowan's bed without hesitation, chest heaving, fists clenched so tight his knuckles whitened. "You're not touching her." The doctor tilted his head, calm, too calm. "You don't understand, Mr. Lockridge. Rowan Hale should never have survived childhood. The complications she was born with, the trauma, the instability it should have taken her early. Nature had decided for her." Damien's voice tore out of him. "Nature didn't decide anything. You did." Lowell's expression twitched. "I gave her mother a chance. I told Marilyn the truth. Rowan's prognosis was poor. But that woman refused to accept it. She fled." His voice hardened. "She stole the child from proper intervention." Marilyn's breath hitched. "You told me she was dying. You told me she'd never grow, never think clearly, never live past adolescence. You forced me into hiding away from my daughter because you said she'd be experimented on." Lowell's gaze sharpened. "Experimented on? No. Studied, monitored. If she died young, we could finally confirm the syndrome. A break through the board would have funded for decades." Damien's jaw dropped in disbelief. "You wanted to use her?" "She was a medical marvel," Lowell said, lifting the syringe slightly. "An anomaly I needed to understand. A case that would have made my entire career." "And Carter," Elise demanded, stepping forward despite Pierce's warning. "Where does he fit in your madness?" Lowell shrugged. "Carter was a useful asset. I told him the girl needed monitoring, someone close, someone who wouldn't hesitate to restrain her emotionally. He was eager, obsessive, perfectly suited." Damien's stomach turned. "You groomed him," Lowell nodded. "And he succeeded, for a time. But Rowan had more strength than predicted. She kept surviving." His eyes fell to Rowan's barely moving chest. "And that is unacceptable." Before anyone could react, Lowell lunged forward, syringe aimed directly for Rowan's IV port. Damien tackled him first. The syringe flew from Lowell's hand, clattering across the floor. The doctor slammed into the tile with a sickening thud, but he rolled quickly, faster than expected for a man his age, reaching for his fallen weapon. Detective Pierce rushed forward. "Hands where I can see them." Lowell ignored him, snatching the syringe off the ground. Pierce fired a warning shot into the ceiling. "Drop it." The doctor spun, using a rolling cart as cover, and hurled himself toward Rowan's bed again. "She doesn't get to exist. Not after all I invested." Damien slammed into him a second time, knocking the syringe from his grip. The container skidded across the floor, stopping at Marilyn's feet. Marilyn stared at it then, at the man who had destroyed her life, and something inside her snapped. She kicked the syringe toward Pierce, jaw trembling. "You don't get to touch her ever again." Pierce dove for the syringe, securing it in an evidence bag. "Lowell, it's over. Stand down." But Lowell didn't stop. He grabbed a metal 4-pole, swinging it wildly. The pole smashed into a monitor, sparks flying. Nurses screamed and scrambled back. Damien ducked the next swing, grabbing the pole mid-arc and ripping it from Lowell's hands. "You're finished." Lowell snarled like an animal. "She belongs in the ground." Pierce tackled him then, slamming him face first into the tile, cuffing him as Lowell thrashed and spat. "You don't understand," the doctor shrieked. "She's not meant to live." Damien turned back to Rowan, breath shaking. "Yes, she is. She always was." Elise grabbed the portable pump from the stunned nurse. "We need to keep ventilating her. Go." They rushed the bed toward the emergency stairwell, the only path not blocked by the blackout. Marilyn stumbled behind them, crying softly. "Hold on, Rowan. We're getting you to ICU. Just hold on." But halfway down the stairwell, the single emergency light flickered again, then died. Total darkness. And from somewhere below, a cold voice echoed upward. "You should have left her in that room." Someone else was waiting in the dark. The stairwell swallowed every sound except their breathing, the ragged gasps of nurses, Marilyn's trembling sobs, Elise's urgent whispering as she tried to keep Rowan's portable oxygen pumping in the dark. The metal rails were cold beneath Damien's hand as he steadied the hospital bed, being pushed step by step down the emergency staircase. "Keep going," he whispered, leaning close to Rowan's ear. "I'm right here. You're staying with me." Her eyelids fluttered, but she didn't respond. Detective Pierce descended first, flashlight sweeping across the pitch-black steps. Its thin beam carved only tiny pieces of vision out of absolute darkness. Then the voice returned, floating upward like a poison. "You really think you can save her?" Everyone froze. Elise gripped the railing. "Who's there?" The detective pointed his flashlight downward, but the beam met nothing. Just concrete steps disappearing into blackness. Damien stepped in front of the bed, shielding Rowan. "Show yourself." A laugh echoed slow, honeyed, familiar. Savannah stiffened. No, that's not." But the voice spoke again, and this time everybody recognized it. The voice belonged to Carter Briggs. "But that's impossible," Elise whispered. "He's in custody." Detective Pierce hissed, "Keep moving." "That wasn't him. Someone is mimicking him." A shuffling sound echoed from below. Feet dragging, breathing growing louder. Someone climbing toward them slowly, intentionally, like a hunter savoring the chase. Marilyn clutched Damien's arm. "Please, don't let anyone near her." Damien kissed Rowan's forehead. "Never." Pierce pointed the flashlight downward again, and finally the beam caught movement. A figure stepped into view. Not Carter. Not Lowell. A woman. Her blonde hair fell over her shoulders, wild and tangled. Her eyes wide, red-rimmed, glittered in the light like shattered glass. Savannah gasped. "Mom?" It wasn't Savannah talking. It was Savannah's mother, Claire Reed, a woman who had been absent from the story until this very moment. A woman whose face Savannah had sworn never to see again. Claire gripped the railing with one hand and a scalpel with the other. "Hello, darling," she crooned. Her smile twisted. "You always said you wanted to help Damien. So I helped you." Savannah's knees buckled. "Mom, what are you doing? You were supposed to be in rehab." Claire tilted her head. "I left early. I promised you I'd take care of your little competition." Damien's eyes widened. "You cut the power." Claire gave a shallow curtsy. "Hospitals are easy to slip into when you look like a grieving visitor. Easier still when security is busy arresting the wrong targets." Detective Pierce aimed his weapon. "Drop the scalpel now." Claire twirled it between her fingers. "Why?" "I just want to finish what Carter and Lowell couldn't. I'm doing this for my daughter. She deserves Damien's world, his name, his future. And this girl," she pointed the scalpel toward Rowan. "This nobody doesn't." Savannah's scream filtered through the dark. "Mom, stop. I never wanted this." Claire's face twisted. "Liar. You cried for weeks about him choosing her. About him slipping out of your hands. You begged me to help you." "I didn't ask you to hurt anyone," Savannah sobbed. "I was angry, jealous, but I didn't want blood." Claire descended another step, blade gleaming. "Well, too late, sweetheart," Pierce shouted. "Hands up." Claire moved too fast. She lunged. Straight for Rowan. Damien reacted without thinking. He turned, throwing his entire body over Rowan's, taking the hit meant for her. But Elise was faster. She swung the oxygen tank sideways, slamming it into Claire's wrist with a sickening crack. Claire screamed, the scalpel clattering down the stairs. Detective Pierce lunged, tackling Claire to the ground and wrestling her into cuffs as she shrieked and thrashed. Savannah collapsed to her knees, sobbing. "Mom, what have you done?" Damien checked Rowan, touching her face, her pulse, her breathing. "You're okay, I've got you." The emergency lights flickered once, then returned faint but steady. But the relief lasted only seconds. A nurse screamed, "Damien, the babies." He turned sharply. The portable incubator monitors for the twins flashed red. Their vitals were crashing. Both boys are going into respiratory failure. The emergency lights flickered weakly as the twin monitors blared red, their alarms slicing through the stairwell like knives. Nurses rushed forward with the portable incubators, their faces pale with fear. "Both babies are crashing," one shouted. "Respiratory failure, oxygen saturation dropping fast." Damien spun, panic clenching his chest like a vice. "No, please, no, my boys." Rowan, barely conscious, stirred at the sound. Her lashes trembled. "The babies." Damien leaned over her quickly. "They're here, sweetheart. They're alive. We just need to get them help." The medical team moved as a unit, maneuvering the bed and incubators toward the landing. Detective Pierce held Claire Reed pinned down against the concrete, officers cuffing her wrists tightly. Savannah sobbed uncontrollably, curled against the wall as if trying to disappear. Elise ran ahead, her voice cutting through the frantic noise. "This stairwell leads straight to the neonatal elevator. Go, go, go." The team surged forward. Marilyn pressed a kiss to Rowan's forehead. "Hold on, my darling girl. Your sons need you." Damien brushed Rowan's cheek gently. "Stay awake. Stay with me." She fought to keep her eyes open, but her voice was faint. "Please, save them." Damien's heart ached with a fierce, protective love. "We will. All three of you." The moment they reached the neonatal elevator, a generator roared to life somewhere deep in the building. Lights flickered on, dim but working. Monitors blinked back in. Power restored. A nurse cried with relief. "Go! NICU is online." They burst into the NICU unit, a room glowing with soft blue lights, humming machines, warm incubators. Doctors immediately swarmed the babies, transferring them into the advanced ventilators. "Baby A shallow breathing," one doctor reported. "Baby B weak pulse but responding. Oxygen starting to climb. Préparez surfactant, move." Damien stood frozen at the window, watching the tiny bodies so small, so fragile fight for every breath. His eyes burned. He pressed both palms to the glass. "Come on, sons. You're fighters, just like your mother." Behind him, a nurse pushed Rowan's bed inside. Her head rolled toward the incubators. Her voice was barely a whisper. Are they okay?" Damien rushed to her side, kneeling. "They're being helped, sweetheart. They're fighting." She blinked weakly. "Good. Good." Her fingers curled toward his. "Damien, you saved us." "No," he said, stroking her hand. "You saved them. You saved yourself. You fought through everything they tried to do to you." Her lips quivered. "I'm so tired." "I know," he whispered. "Rest. You're safe now." Marilyn stood behind them, tears streaming silently. "My girl, I'm so proud of you." Within hours, the antidote stabilized Rowan's organs. Her blood pressure rose slow but steady. The toxic shock receded. Doctors declared her out of immediate danger. Pierce entered the unit with calm authority. "Lowell and Claire are in custody. Carter is being transferred to a federal holding facility. All three will face charges." Damien's shoulders sagged with relief. The nightmare was over. Days later, Rowan awoke fully clear-eyed, breathing on her own. Damien sat beside her, holding a warm cup of hospital coffee. Elise was by the window, reviewing legal documents. Marilyn knitted a tiny hat for each newborn. How are the boys?" Rowan whispered. Damien smiled softly. "Strong. Loud. Perfect. Just like their mother." Her eyes filled with tears. "Can I see them?" He lifted her gently from the bed and wheeled her toward the incubators. Two tiny faces, pink, fragile, but alive, blinked up at her. Rowan covered her mouth, sobbing. My babies. Damien's voice trembled. Our babies. She turned to him. Damien, why did you stay? He took her hand. I'm not leaving, he said softly. Not now, not ever. Rowan Hale, will you marry me? Her breath caught. And then through tears and trembling joy, she nodded. Yes. The NICU filled with quiet celebration nurses smiling. Marilyn crying softly. Elise clearing her throat to hide her own emotion. For the first time in her life, Rowan felt whole. Safe. Loved. Home. And the tiny fingers curling around hers promised a future none of them would ever take for granted again. So, that's how our story closes tonight. And if you are still here, listening to these last words, it tells me something beautiful. Some part of this journey touched your heart in a way you maybe didn't expect. You know, the Stoics used to say, the obstacle is the way. And looking back at everything Rowan survived, betrayal, danger, heartbreak, it reminds us that sometimes the things meant to break us become the very things that shape us. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Rowan didn't choose the darkness around her, but she chose how she walked through it. And that choice saved her life, and the lives of her children. Maybe you've carried your own battles quietly. Maybe life has pushed you harder than anyone knows. But stories like this remind us that healing happens one breath, one brave decision at a time. If this journey moved you, even a little, I'd love for you to like, share, and subscribe, not for numbers, but so these stories of courage and rebirth can reach someone who needs them tonight. And remember, you're stronger than you think, always.